All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our webinar on onboarding Omni Channels to the TAS sites, and we're joined by our partner Nextiva, Tom Hurld, who is in charge of international BPOs and is also just taking a really great interest in the TAS industry, and also JJ Erasmus, who's going to show us some of the tools available to the TAS sites. And a little bit about Nextiva. They're a very, very large cloud contact center as a service uh, platform. They've got tons of resources. They're worldwide. They have very, very large installations and very small ones as well. They have all the tools that the TAS sites need to jump into omnichannel right away. And they're always adding new products and new capabilities. And Nextiva is very invested. Tom was at the ATSI show uh, right beside me with his table. And so we got to meet a lot of you guys. And he's gotten a lot of input from different telefinancing services about what the telefinancing service needs as to get started into the Omni channel. So he's very familiar with what the needs are. And he and I together have been working on a vision and a roadmap to get telefinancing services um, to get into Omni channels and start making a lot of revenue and opening up opportunities for your current base and also for future business as well. We've put together a TAS starter package. Going to touch on some of that today. We're going to look at some of the omni-channel tools that are available today. What Tom and JJ have put together is basically getting a lot of input from all of you. What the telefinancing service needs to get started right away. And so the vision is to go ahead and get together different campaigns in and outbound SMS appointment reminders, SMS marketing campaigns, in and outbound emails, uh, doing email with IoT devices that are calling in to say, oh, this is a freezer that's broken, I need help, and being able to automatically go through a campaign and find out who to send that message to and dispatch that even without an agent. And a lot of these campaigns can be agentless. So you have a dialer, you have the SMS campaigns, you have web chat, which can be front-ended with bots, and then the conversation can be handed over to an agent. Or if it's just a simple request, the bot can do lookups into databases, return information, and close that transaction without an agent. So the idea was to put together a TAS starter package with all of these different campaigns already made up for you, so that each individual telefinancing service doesn't have to spend the money and take the time to say, oh, this is what we need. We're going to give you everything. And then, of course, you're going to have to do some adjustments as far as I want to link it to this CRM, or I want to link it to this database to get information, so on and so forth. But it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of money, because Nextiva has already put this TAS starter package SKU together, so that you can get up and running in a couple of weeks. Forget about months or even years. They're also going to provide sales and marketing assistance. They're going to provide short videos that you can have branded with your own logos, and you can give to your current base and future prospects. And you can show them, hey, I can do web chat, I can do SMS campaigns, I can do out dialing, I can do all these different things on Omnichannel, so that you can start getting revenue much, much quicker. We're planning on having monthly user group meetings with everyone who signs up, so that you can exchange ideas and information about marketing and how to build your business with these omni-channels. And and in doing this, you're going to gain and maintain a competitive advantage over the other telefinancing services who are just able to offer voice today. And all this is exclusively through CloudConsult. If you were to call up Nextiva and say, "Oh, I'm interested in the TAS starter package," they would have no idea what you're talking about, because this is something that I've been working exclusively with Tom on. And again, this is something that we've worked on together specific to the telefinancing service industry. So welcome. And right now, I want to hand it over to Tom and have him give a little introduction about what we're going to see today and some of the opportunities available to you through getting Omni Channel with Nextiva.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very much. And to kind of a couple points that Steve had mentioned, I'd like to reiterate that this TAS solution is all a product of Steve's intellectual property, his experience. You all know him for years. We wouldn't be able to do this without Steve, and so I really appreciate the insight and effect that Steve has given to us. Part of that is, an understanding of how this industry works. And we recognize that, where he'd mentioned I have an affinity for this industry. I do because of what Steve's been able to share with us. Nextiva is a global CCaaS provider. We work with customers that are, 10 to 60,000 seats on a global basis. But our company was founded on the fact that we believe that this technology should be available to everybody and every customer. So, at our core, we believe that, a customer or a small business that has 5 to 20 seats really needs this technology. And we've set ourselves up to build solutions and put in place solutions that allow us to be effective, but also allow us to help you, adopt and grow and experience this technology as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I hope that what JJ will show you will resonate. Part of what we'll want to do as we go through it, you're going to see a single conversation that takes place, but it's going to touch on a lot of different media types. And what we'd like to be able to do is, after the fact, talk about how you can use those media types, the tool set that we have that can be leveraged in a unique way to meet your industry and your customers' needs. So, Steve, again, thank you very much for your partnership through this, the guidance that you've given us in this industry. And with that, JJ, I will pass the baton over to you and let you kind of tell, show, and then tell that process that we've developed. And we'll open it up for discussions afterwards.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, Tom. First off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Now, I do realize my screen's resolution is fairly high. I do it this way so that I can showcase the agent as well as the supervisor desktops. Can I get a quick thumbs up or a something in the way of, are you able to see my screen fairly adequately?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So for this use case, what I'm going to do and what I'm going to showcase is I'm going to showcase a couple of things. And like Tom said, we're going to touch all of these mediums, right? All of these channels we're going to touch. And I'm going to showcase that we can handle all of these conversations and or channels or interactions from a single interface. Now, just a quick lay of the land. On the left side will be my agent. On the right-hand side will be my supervisor. For this specific demonstration, what I'm going to do, and I know the focus is a little bit more on Omni Channel, but I want to showcase how we can escalate, how we can utilize, and how we can jump between those different channels. I mean, multi-channel was multi-channel, but really bringing them all together in one cohesive interaction, that's really where Omni-channel shines, right? So I'm going to start off with a phone call. Once we get that phone call, we're going to simulate a telephone answering service that it comes in, it's going to go to the agent is going to be able to handle that call, right? Very, very simple, easy. In some use cases, that would be the end of the conversation. And we can disposition that call as such and you can have the ability to report on that as such. Secondarily, we're going to go on that and we're going to send that to a dispatcher. Dispatcher is going to have the ability to bring in an email. It's going to bring an email in from that agent that's going to contain all of the pieces of that prior interaction. It's going to say who it did, what it did. It's going to give a summary. We're going to talk a little bit about that summary because there's a lot of options and a lot of intelligence behind it. And then the dispatcher is going to review that information. We're also going to get information about that specific customer and who is on call. A good example of that would be an on-call technician. The use case that I'm going to use today is Bob's HVAC. Everybody loves a Bob. So, we're going to get to that. We're going to see that. And I'm going to be able to communicate to Bob and provide information to Bob through any of the channels and or a combination of those channels. And then when Bob has any questions around that, we're going to, with the click of a button or a click of a link, we're going to be able to connect to that dispatcher for some clarifying questions via chat. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to quick start off with a phone call. I'm just turning off my noise cancellation so that you guys can hear it. Otherwise, it does block that out. But so, Steve and Tom, if you can't hear my phone, please let me know. But I'm going to call in here real quick. And what we're going to see is I want to point your attention to the left hand where my agent is. Now, as soon as I go available, right, we have the ability for people, if they have permissions, to select what they want to sign into. Do they want to sign into those? We can also lock that down. We can also say which ones they have queues or the queues that they are a part of. And they can obviously do their status. And I am going to fall flat on my face here because I got it the wrong way around. So I got the dispatcher on the left. So I'm going to move some things around here real quick, just so that it makes logical sense from left to right. And my agent is going to go available. Here.
So that's just JJ proving the statistics on color blindness for men.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go available. At this point, I want to point your attention to the right-hand bottom. Right-hand bottom of this screen is going to be presented to my agent. My agent is going to see a couple of things there. They're going to see what the phone number is. They're going to see it's a phone call. They're also going to see a countdown timer that's going to provide them information on how long they have to answer or to respond. It's also going to say that it's the TAS answering service. Once I click on accept, I'm going to see a bunch of information here. I'm going to see the information that I have regarding this caller. Now, in all scenarios, you're not going to have information about that caller. In some instances, you're not going to care about saving that information. But we can, based on the campaign, provide you the ability with a one-button click to create said user or contact as well. And we also have the ability to map that within our solution with an account identifier. So in this case, the account identifier would be Bob's HVAC. We also have the ability to create notes. Now, all of these items we can also grab from a third-party system like CRM. We are currently, we have been built from the ground up, API first. So all of our all of our feature functionality, if we have access into an API, we have the ability to then grab that information and or push that information into your CRM. I'm going to take a quick minute here to showcase some additional pieces, right? Mark Marquez called in because Mark Marquez has an AC failure and it is summer. We're going to see the data. This is the data that comes from the system. We're going to see some information about priorities, which means you can have different priorities for different customers. We also have the look of what this experience was like. Now, with that being said, we can also hide all of this information. I just have all that information because I demonstrate the functionality. So again, you have the ability to do that via permissions. Now, let's say we are talking about Mr. Mark Marquez and his HVAC, or he called Bob's HVAC, concerned about his air conditioner. Once the agent took all of the information and the agent terminates the call, what's going to happen is you'll see here at the bottom, it's going to say summary in progress. Now, this summary is very important because we can do a bunch of things with this. And I want to point out a few things. This is in HTML format. We can do this in any format that is supported. That's rich text, HTML, regular plain text, all of the above. This is going to give me a headline here. And you can see that this listened to my conversation with us. And as you saw in that real-time transcription, it took all of that information as I was talking. I want to point out something else as well, is that we do support real-time redaction. So what that means is you can redact all that information right then and there. And we can also specify what information to redact, not only across the board, but specifically to that campaign and or that customer of yours. I also want to point out the sentiment. We also have the ability to modify that. People that are down south, the sentiment does not necessarily sound the same as people from the East Coast or from the West Coast. I'm in Minneapolis, so here in Midwestern, we are very, very plain. It doesn't say much, doesn't take much. The system just, I don't even have to tweak it. But think about this conversation summary, almost like a chat GPT, where you can go in and you can tell it, answer this question as a fifth grade teacher. Now, similarly, we can do the same thing. We can say, this is an HVAC industry, or this is within the HVAC business. So these are going to be important acronyms for you. We can also say that this is for utilities. And utilities could have different set of acronyms and different pieces of information that's important that it needs to note on, or medical, or legal, or all of the above. We can specify specifically based on how the call came in, what was identified within the intent. So if I called in and I said, I have an issue with my HVAC, or I have an issue with my utility, etc., and then we can do that. Okay, so now what I want to show is that we also have the ability to edit this. I can go and say there was a third person on the call and they were very excited. I can do this at an agent level, or I can limit this on an agent level. Sometimes you don't want the agent's input in there, and sometimes you would. Now, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look at my dispositions. Now, something important with the dispositions, like I said, our product is based all on API first, right? We built this very much from an API infrastructure and architecture upwards. I can now have the ability to go ahead and say, it's a delivery issue, or I want to call that person back. I think we all know that if someone calls in and there's a flood in the basement and they walk down there and they say, hey, I need plumbing help, walk down and suddenly another pipe burst. Hey, call me back in 15 minutes. I got to figure out what's going on. Or, okay, give me a time to go back down to my furnace, take a look, call me back in 5 minutes. I can do that right from here. I can say that this is the queues that I'm being a part of, that I want to call back as. I also have the ability to select the different types. I can go ahead and I can call back via SMS or voice, right? So I can reach back out to them and I can say when to reach back out to them. I also have the ability to do different things here, like I can do a dispatch request, which is what I'm going to do right now. So when I request that dispatch, what's going to happen is you're going to instantly see a pop here and this being presented to my supervisor. Let me just click on that one. I'm going to go to task, dispatch request. And as soon as I click this button, you're going to see on this side, I'm going to get that same notification. Now, with that notification, I'm going to, at a glance, see that this is an email. Now, this email is going to give us a lot more information. We're going to see that it's a task dispatcher. And when I accept this call, and I'm going to make this one a little bigger in the middle because we're going to work a lot on this one right now. I'm going to see who the email address was. What was the caller information? We're going to see that this is the person that called in, the customer, the end customer, Mark Marquez. We're going to see who is on call. And this information here is coming from a third-party external system. That could be your scheduling software. That could be a spreadsheet. It could be all of the above, right? We're also going to see that this subject line that looks a little crowded right now, there's a reason for that. Because I want to showcase that we have all of that information that we can use to grab information from and pre-populate. We can also see here that this is going to be the message, right? It's been in there. It'll say, reach out to Mark Marquez. This is what the disposition codes are. And I'm going to put that conversation history. Now, what I want to point out here is, remember, we added to it. That information is going to come right with that, and the redaction will still be in place. I also have the ability to see what this interaction went through, and I can even go ahead and see what the history of this interaction or this person was. I can see there's some emails that came in throughout the week. And then I have the ability to now either call Bob directly to inform him that there is a person waiting for him to call. I can text him or I can email him. Now, again, if Bob, as your customer, did not subscribe to SMS, we can hide that button and that button won't be available. Or if their preference is after hours not to call, we can take away that call button, right? Anything after 11 p.m., don't call me, send me a text message or send me an email. Or first send a text message, and if I don't get an acknowledgement, then send an email. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first off move a couple things around so that I can showcase what it looks like, but I'm going to put my SMSs right here. Now, I'm going to do my iPhone mirroring. That looks a lot better. I'm going to see here that my iPhone mirroring is going to showcase my SMSs. Now, as soon as I click on SMS here, it's going to come in to my phone. And we will see that instantly I have the ability to not only get all of the information, please reach out to Mark Marquez. This is his phone number. This is the email address. And this is the technician, Bob Smith. Now, I think if you've noticed that Bob Smith and Mark Marquez's phone numbers are different on this, I did that on purpose to be able to showcase because this is actually my phone number. But we also have the ability to send a link. If this is something that might have that is regulated or that you need to ensure end-to-end security, we would wholeheartedly recommend to do a form. Now, if Bob Smith has questions, or let's say Bob Smith doesn't have questions, Bob Smith can just click that button and call that person directly and find out what it is. But if Bob did have a question, Bob has the ability to click on this link directly, and that is going to connect him to either call me or chat now. And it's going to instantly go to this dispatcher, and the dispatcher has the ability to go and handle that. We will all see the information. It's for Bob Smith with all the details, and Bob Smith can ask questions like, is this the same Mark that had the AC issue last week? Right? And the dispatcher is able to service Bob and walk him through that information, give him information, send attachments, receive attachments, and or all of the above. Okay. So with this being said, we saw a couple of things right now. We saw first off, we saw a plain old inbound phone call. We saw that phone call be transcribed, be summarized, and we saw that we can trigger outside events with just the disposition. We could have had a button. We could have gotten a combination of a button. We could have done a radio button. We could have done all of the above. We could have even triggered it automatically on the summary. Did the summary include something? And triggered that. But we decided to use the disposition. The disposition at that point triggered an event that immediately sent that interaction to the supervisor or dispatcher or administrator, combination of all of the above, and that person was able to get this email, not only with all the information in the subject line, for if they have a phone and they want to just see the subject, but also the conversation summary, as well as the original caller's first name and information, and the on-call that came from an external system. At this point, we have the ability to call, we have the ability to SMS, we have the ability to email. We also saw that once Bob received that SMS in plain text, Bob was able to click a link, request to call me if they wanted to talk specifically to them, as well as be able to connect straight to that dispatcher directly via chat, and the dispatcher was able to connect to this. Yes, this is the same Mark. And we'd be able to do that as well as be able to call them directly at this point and escalate that chat into a phone call. Okay, so now we want to also talk a little bit about what happens after this. I'm going to terminate this, and then we also have the ability to then see this summary. And we will also see that the customer asked if this is Mark who handled the AC issue last week. But again, we have the ability to customize this to that specific need. Once I go to disposition, I have that same options. I can also limit these options. And I can say dispatch complete. That means that you can report on that. That's going to support all of the different billing models that you have for your customers. Some of you might be billing your customers per interaction. Some might be billing your customers per minute. We can do all of the above. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to disposition this one. I'm going to take this one, and I'm also going to disposition this interaction. So I'm going to go here, dispatch complete, and now I am completed throughout this interaction. I'm going to go ahead, move it around a little bit, and showcase a couple of supervisory functions that I feel is really important to share around here. For outbound messaging, let's say Bob's HVAC is running a summer tune-up sale. We have the ability to just click on campaign, go into one of these campaigns, and this is now ABC legal, but that could have been Bob's HVAC. We also have the ability to upload lists. So we have two different mechanisms in place to be able to do outbound dialing. One would be an automated API, so that if you have a system, and I always use the example of Salesforce, because Salesforce gives us the ability to change some things and create custom objects. But don't just look at Salesforce, think about any type of interaction or any type of system of record. If we change a status, if we trigger any type of interaction, we have the ability to push it in here one by one or multiples at the same time to make that outbound call. The second option is the easiest option, is to upload a list. I have the ability to go and add a list, name it, and I can also say what type for duplicates. I can mark this as an SMS, or I can scrub the federal DNC, scrub reassign numbers, or I can make it opt-in only and then select that file. That file, once selected, is going to give me more information. I can open up that file and I can see all of the information that we had earlier when creating that, but I'm also going to give some more information. So that's your state ID, your waiting, some additional filters, as well as a summary of it. I can also go ahead and click on this to look at individual leads. Now, once I see my lead in here, I can open up that lead and it's going to tell me how many times it's been called, what was the action result, how many attempts there has been. As far as the dialer is concerned, I have a slew of different options. We have the ability to enable quarterback mode. And what does quarterback mode mean? Quarterback mode is human intervention. This gets us past a lot of TCPA requirements, because every single interaction will be sent to that quarterback, i.e. a supervisor or a manager or even an administrator. That when that interaction is presented to that quarterback, they will be able to approve or decline. Once they approve, then we can follow the standard rule set of our dialer. Now, we also have the ability to get that information from a REST API and all of the other settings that you would expect from an enterprise dialer solution. Our answer machine detection, and I've been in the industry for years, and our answer machine detection is superior to every single AMD that I have seen out there. We also have the ability to now tweak it a little bit And we can also make it as known and handle that as answering machine. We have the ability to keep different leads in memory and the percentage of third parties, all callback types. So I do have the ability also to put them into callbacks. I can say how many attempts per address. I can filter these leads and prioritize them. I can also hook into third parties to be able to present those items. And
Hey,
I
JJ,
have, yes, sir.
I'm gonna interrupt you for just a second to kind of reset everything we've talked about, because I mean, this is so much information. I just want to make sure that, we're kind of able to put it in context. So this is great stuff, by the way. Um, so here's what we're looking at. We're looking at a platform that you can do the really easy, kind of entry level Omni stuff. Like, I want to send an SMS list. I want to send an HVAC list to about a program that I'm doing before summer starts or before winter starts. $89 to do a checkup. Okay, your HVAC people, they give you a list. You compose the message. You send it out. It'll report back. These are how many people opened it. You can put inside the SMS, click here to sign up, and it'll take them to a web page where they can sign up for, directly with the HVAC company. You can direct it to a web page that you've built for them and that you charge them for. Or you can put a phone number in there, which, is going to dial back to the HVAC, or it's going to dial right back to you, and you open up their schedule, and set the appointments. You're making revenue just because you're sending the SMS. You're making revenue because you're setting up appointments. You're giving them a report about how many people opened it, ones that failed, so that they can clean up their list. So that's kind of low hanging fruit. You can do the same thing with email campaigns, exactly the same thing. It's just a list, and you put the variables in there. Hi, first field for the, first name. This is about, and then there's a message you've pre-populated and so on and so forth. Again, how many opens? If they respond, it can come right back to you. You can make more revenue. You can set up a web page, whatever. If they have a web page you want them to direct the people to, fine, whatever. So those are kind of low hanging fruit things. And the other thing to consider is, I mean, I'm glad we're looking at this dialer thing, and I'm imagining that some of us are on the phone going, I don't want to get into dialers. Well, the reality is that the BPO world that's doing outbound dialing now is looking and saying, I want to get into the inbound market because I want to spread my business out and I want to be more stable. And I want, you know, I don't want to put all my eggs in this basket. And some of us, financing services need to think kind of the same way. It's kind of like, well, I've got all this inbound traffic, but maybe I should branch out and at least have the ability to do outbound campaigns if somebody offers it to me. Outbound surveys, outbound marketing. Hey, it's just a message that gets sent out there. Parking lot 4 is closed. Make sure to use parking lot 3 and 2 this week until the 18th or whatever. Or marketing about new restaurant or whatever, or a survey or whatever. So there's outbound dialing things that you can do that maybe you've never ever thought about, um, but if you have it in your back pocket, and you don't, and all this is comes with the platform. So whether you use it or not, it's in the platform. So you can market it, or you can just wait until somebody asks you for it, or you can kind of tell your salespeople, hey, start adding these features into what we offer, and see what comes in. So you've got the in and outbound SMS, you've got the in and outbound email, you've got the SMS where you can do two-way communication. The frustrating thing about SMS, with our platforms, is that we send an SMS. Just say we send out 4 SMSs to the same doctor in the morning, and he responds. Well, which one did he respond to? Nobody know. But if you have a true omni-channel platform, and you send out these SMSs, then the responses are going to be linked to the SMS that it's supposed to be linked to, so there's no confusion. Um, uh, so I just want to put it in perspective that you don't have to use all this at once. You can start with, SMS campaigns, email campaigns, web chat campaigns. You can use bots or not use bots. You can, kind of get your feet wet and then introduce bots later. Um, Again, all these things are available. What we're trying to communicate is that the TAS starter package is going to give you, 5 or 6 different omni channels already set up. Now you're gonna have to customize them a little bit, of course, okay? But it's all, so the fact that we have it all set up for you as a template means that we don't have to charge tons of money to, onboard each and every single task. The other thing that I want you to remember is that whole beginning part where the call came in and we did a summarization and we had the message summarization via an AI summarization tool, is that's perfect for CRMs because it's easy for Nextiva to integrate with CRMs because they are built on APIs from scratch. And so anything with an API, they can integrate to, okay? The second thing is, it doesn't matter if Tom, Dick, or Harry takes that message. The message that's sent to your customer's CRM is exactly the same every single time. So it makes you look professional. It doesn't frustrate the people on the other side because, sometimes the message is going in there and, Tom and Dick can, or they can, summarize things and make good sentences and clearly, and maybe some of your other agents aren't able to do that. And honestly, it's not getting any better. If we're honest, it's getting worse. So, so if you want to build your business, build the CRM part of your integration part of your business, this is a very, very important platform to have because it has all the tools to really make you do it right and do it very professionally. And be very confident that whatever CRM they throw at you, you can integrate to. So again, I wanted to make sure that we kind of present it as a platform where you can go in a whole lot of different directions, not necessarily all at once, but you can kind of step by step build your omni-channel business alongside of your StarTel, your Intelco, your Pinnacle, your Zito, your any TAS platform that you have. And
Yeah, Steve, maybe jump in. One of the things that I think you're conveying well is that each of these media types can act independent of themselves, can act in concert with a human, can act individually without a human. So we do have a lot of agentless opportunity. When JJ showed the email, he highlighted the fact that the subject line had a lot of content in it. And generally, we can take and route information like a commercial HVAC or refrigerating system can report information that IoT can report in, and we can have automated processes. Not only can we look at that email, parse it out, and then dispatch a service tech. But then we can follow up and at any point in time interject the human into that process. So I think that the thing that we want to be able to share is that we have the ability to support all of these media types. They're all in a single platform, single code base that allows us to manipulate or orchestrate the journey of that customer, that interaction, or that media type in a way that makes the most sense for your customer. The intent was to try and show you a single conversation flow that touched on all of those, but recognize we have the ability to do all of those actions and interactions with automation, no agents, and or inject agents where most appropriate. Sorry for interrupting, Steve.
Yeah, and we have about 15 minutes left. Would love to hear any questions that you have, and we can start a conversation. I can, put the speakers on and allow you to talk. You can type them in, whatever. Any questions that you have right now, we'd love to cover. And basically, the point of entry, again, Nextiva is making it very, very easy to get in. You have to have two concurrent agents, which the total of that is about $440 US. And that gives you the platform, and it gives you those TAS campaigns that we've pre-built for you. And then it's just a matter of you saying to us, okay, now I want to customize it. I want to add a database. I want to integrate with the CRM. I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay, so that's professional services. But you're talking about getting some of these platforms. You have to have 20 seats to get in. It's $2,000, and just to say hello to these platforms, and that's not even including the installation. And so Nextiva is making it very easy for us to get in, because I know, it's like, oh, chicken is a chicken or egg. I don't have any customers, but that need this, but I can't have any customers because I don't have the platform. Well, I'm not going to get the platform until I have the customers. I get it. Okay, that's why we're making it easy to get in, and have it pre-built so that you can go out and sell this, and we can. You can start making money with this thing absolutely immediately, and build that part of your business, and get away from being voice only and add these different channels so that you're spreading out. You're not just relying on voice. So, any questions out there? Just raise your hand or put something in the chat.
Steve, one
Yeah.
thing that I want to add in is, and this might resonate with some of you, and it might not with others, but what I like to say is CloudConsult and Nextiva, we've come together to provide a buyer's experience to a builder's platform, not foregoing any of that builder functionality. So, what that means to you is you can get into the door with pre-populated things, you can pre-configure things, but that builder functionality you can build to your heart's desire. But it gives you that, A to X, the Y and Z. You have the ability, and we can help you through that because we're API native. But from the get-go, you'll have a system that is fully functional, that will very likely either 100 or 90 or 85% meet all of your needs, including the reporting. We know that there's a very, very important thing to you as BPOs, and that is, how do you track items? We have multiple and numerous ways of tracking those interactions. We have the ability to support by call billing, by minute billing, by person billing, all of those items, and we can slice and dice those numbers as your requirements are to meet your business requirements and your billing models.
And the thing to think about is, you get this platform, and you may never ever in the next 10 years ever take a phone call on this. You may never ever take a phone call because you're like, I've got damn telco, I've got the start, whatever. I'll take my calls through that. Fine. But you can do all the other channels using the Nextiva and make a whole bunch of money. Or you can say, well, for these particular clients that I have that require CRM and CRM integration and the automated, AI summarization and so on and so forth. Well, those I'll put on Nextiva, and I'll take voice calls on that and do all the other, Omni Channel functions, and I'll keep everything else on my other platform. That's fine. That's the thing. It gives you basically it positions you to go in a lot of different directions and give you a competitive advantage and maintain the competitive advantage. Because once you start introducing, one channel and then the other channel and these kinds of campaigns and those kind of campaigns, all of a sudden, it makes it much harder for your customers to leave because it's like, well, even though I'm not doing any dialing campaigns, if I ever do, these guys can do it. Versus if I jump to another place, well, maybe they don't have these capabilities. And so your customers are going to be, they're going to have second thoughts about ever leaving because you have all these different channels that you can offer, different services that you can offer that a lot of other services aren't going to be able to offer. So this is your opportunity to really get a competitive advantage and maintain it, because once you start, you'll get better and better and better and better and better, and there's just no looking back. So
Steve, along those lines of better, 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 as we continue to develop, we are as a service. And so it is a subscription. We are developing and expanding our product on a daily basis. One of the things that we didn't necessarily show is in the chat, if you're chatting with a representative, we can do natural language and translation immediately. So you can now expand your customer base into Somali and Hmong if you're up in the Minneapolis area, having only English-speaking agents. So the Hmong population will type in Hmong, it'll get translated to English for your agents, and then all the response goes back in Hmong. So the ability to expand and the AI capabilities of the platform exist in it today. The next thing that we're doing, we're in the process, it's not in general release now, but we have agentic conversation bots where they can answer the phone. Thank you for calling Bob's Plumbing or HVAC. And we can take information. And once we recognize that I'm having trouble with my air conditioning, we transfer that to a triage or a troubleshooting AI agent that has a conversation about, did you do X? Did you do Y? Turn off your X and Y. So once that needs to be done and you got to schedule an appointment, we can transfer that to a scheduling bot. So all of those capabilities, as you start to think about where this is going back to your levels, Steve, we continue to develop and grow in this platform to make it future proof for you. So and every time and all of the time, we always have the human sitting behind it. So at any point in time, you have that human in the loop that can pick up and work with the agent and the AI bot. So I think it's more of a future proofing opportunity as well that doesn't necessarily exist in what we would recognize as legacy architecture.
yeah. So I think we've covered a lot, and I don't want to kind of overwhelm, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send this video out, the recording out tomorrow, and I'm going to include my scheduling link. If anyone wants to talk further about it, just get on the phone just with Tom and JJ and myself, and dig a little bit deeper. You'll have that opportunity, but again, they're running. Nextiva is actually running a campaign where when you sign up, if you sign up by September 30th, I get some basically incentives that I can take those monies and I can put them back directly into your installation costs, because I can use it for marketing or whatever I want to. And but I'll tell you right now, I'll just take that money and I'll give it right back to you to defray any kind of professional services, whatever that it would take to fine tune the package that you get with the starter package. So I'll send out that recording tomorrow. And thank you so much for joining. And JJ and Tom, thank you so much for putting this together. And JJ, all your efforts, especially. And we look forward to continuing the conversation later. So thanks everyone for joining us today. And we look forward to talking more about this and giving you the opportunity to really increase your business, grow your business, and future-proof your business. Thanks so much, and we'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.